Good evening and welcome to Science TV NEURODIGEST show with me, Sylvia Mochabo, your host, and my interpreter, Maureen Maitha. And today, yet again, we have our therapist, Mr. Irugu, who is going to continue with our topic of speech, language, and intervention. Last week, we touched on the different kinds of challenges that our children go through when it comes to communication and language. And we touched on quite a bit of areas, and I remember I got schooled. We all got schooled properly from our guests. And this time around, we want to go to the solution side of things. We got to hear about what goes wrong where and how the communication and language challenges manifest themselves in our children. And now we want to know, okay, so we have identified the different types. So what do we do next? How do we intervene? How do we get children to start talking? Because I know we have the delayed milestones that come. So I'll ask Daktari to reintroduce himself before he can tell us, okay, now we've identified a child has delayed speech milestones, then what next?
Hey viewers, my name is Asamoah Gironko. I'm a teacher, I'm a therapist. I have been teaching for the last 19 years. So, and mostly in the children in the spectrum disorder. So karibuni.
Okay, thank you. So you had 19 years of teaching children on the autism spectrum disorder. So when he's talking from a position of authority, a position of experience, and he's currently doing his master's. Yeah, he's doing a master's. So we are not just talking of things we're not knowledgeable about, but yeah, our therapist, you will allow me to call you Daktari because that's the default setting for me. So he will be guiding us. So doctor, tell us, last time we spoke about the difference between, just take us back for 1 minute, yeah? Yes. The difference between speech and language, and then what happens when a child is nonverbal. Then now you can tell us now, when we find out that our children are not talking at the time they're supposed to be speaking, or they're having characteristics of speech challenges, what do you do next?
Yes, the simple difference between speech and language is that speech, you must talk, you must say something, you must bring the sound out. Language, you don't have to. You can sign, you can write, you can use body language, you can use gestures. Yes, you can even use silent as a language.
Okay.
But when it comes to speech, something must come out. And that sound must mean something. Because if you make sound which don't mean anything to the listener, then you are not speaking or you're not communicating. So that's the major single difference, which is very, very key when you talk about the speech and the language. I know I'm clear.
Yes,
in that.
Now we're very clear. Last time we were hearing it for the first time because all of us, we just assume that speech and language is the same thing. Now something that has just crossed my mind when you say that clear distinction. So when we're trying to get to a certain between a child having delayed milestone of speech and a child actually being deaf, how do you tell it apart before we go to intervention?
You know, a deaf child or a child who had hearing impairment mean the cause of the language delay is caused because of the hearing impairment.
Okay.
The other one, which is a typical delay, is not caused by any hearing. Yeah, which can be done by an audiologist to see that this child was not hearing, so this child is not able to speak. But a child who has hearing impairment has language. What they don't have is a speech, but they have language. Yes, and that's why we say sign language, not sign speech. It's sign language, because they have their language. But the delay is because if you cannot hear sounds, you cannot be able to imitate them.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
So that's the main difference between a child who has language delay because of other issues and a child with language delay or speech delay because of the hearing impairment.
Okay.
Yes.
So once we've ascertained that, okay, this is what the issue is. So
Yes.
how do we intervene? How do we get to help this child to acquire language and or speech?
Yeah. Simply, if we come to know that a child has hearing issues, and the audiologist does their test, and they see that they need something which you call hearing aid to amplify.
Okay.
They can even recommend some modification. So if your tone is low, then they may ask you to increase the voice or increase the tone. But mainly, if a child has language delay and the speech delay, and now let's here come now to the autistic spectrum, a child in the spectrum, and we know most of them the hearing is intact.
Yeah.
But we know that the basic foundation of language to any child is the attention skill.
Okay.
So we also have to assess the attention skills.
Okay.
When we see that the attention skill has issues, because if you have no if the attention skill is affected, then what will happen? You won't be able to make an effort to imitate. And a typical child acquire language and speech through imitation. So you look at your parents, you look at your sibling, how they are speaking, how the mouth and the tongue, they are moving to shape the sounds, and then you try to imitate what they are saying. And we have seen that children in the spectrum, one common thing, most of them, no, not all of them, but most of them, they have difficulty in the imitation skills.
Okay. So the way we tell kids, "Mama, this is Mama," then now they try and ape the same.
The same.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So if they don't have the attention skill, it will affect the imitation skill. It will affect the listening skill. Yes, and it also affect the turn-taking skills, which are part and parcel of acquiring language and speech.
Okay. So turn taking is like when they are playing or something like that, when you're like, it is your turn, or is it now, okay, in this context we're talking about conversation.
Speech,
if
language.
I say good morning, they should know that's a prompt for them to respond, right?
Simply, when you are speaking, I'm listening to you and keeping quiet. When I speak, you are keeping quiet.
Yeah.
That's not turn taking.
That turn taking is a conversation.
We are taking turn.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have identified, and then that is the challenge that they normally have. That's why we say they have delayed milestones and they're having challenges. So what like for you as a therapist, yeah? So how do you help them now get out of this quagmire of not being able to relate, not being able to take turn, not being able to articulate exactly what it is that you're saying? So how do you assist them to acquire the language skill? Or what do we mean when we say about intervention?
Intervention.
Yeah.
Intervention, when it comes to the intervention of a child with a spectrum, is purely individualized. One child intervention is different from another one. Let's give an example. You may get a child in the spectrum with what we call auditory sensory overload.
Okay.
So he is very sensitive. He is hypersensitive to the sounds. So he is blocking his ears throughout. So what do you do first? You seek the intervention of the auditory sensory integration through an OT.
Okay. An OT.
Yes.
All right.
If the child does not have the sensory integration, auditory sensory overload, then you do something else. Let me give you an example. You may get a child who is like the high functioning, whereby language, they achieve language and it will develop just like any other typical child.
All right.
Yes. Up to around 4 years. It's only at 4 years then you see that the pragmatic use of language has an issue.
Okay.
So now what do you deal with? You don't deal with the speech, you deal with the now, the pragmatic side of, and what I say the pragmatic is to know what to say, when to say, and where to say it.
Okay, like have courtesy of speech.
Yes.
And be able to know when someone is being sarcastic, this is how you're supposed to respond.
Yes.
And just for
jokes, telling jokes, understanding jokes, understanding the metaphors, and sticking to the topic, all those.
Okay, so that's the pragmatic side.
Yes, and mostly it's happen to the children in the high function.
The high functioning
The high
autistic.
function, yes.
Okay, just one question. When you spoke about the children that are their sensory is high,
Yes.
and about an OT meaning occupational therapy, for the sake of our viewers who are not conversant with the jargon. So how exactly does an OT play a part in that? That one is I'm a bit interested to find that out.
Yeah. Right now we have come to realize that some children in the spectrum suffer from what we call sensory integration dysfunction. The way they integrate the sense or this from the environment is different from a typical child or from me and you.
Okay.
Sometimes they may even react to the sense of touch. There are some who don't like to be touched. Yeah, and this can be seen. They also don't like their nails to be cut. It's very sensitive. They become very sensitive. Then there are some who are not sensitive, so they can even bite themselves and they won't even feel pain. So it can go above average or below average. Yes. So now the OT, using their own knowledge and their own expertise, try to stabilize the way we receive the stimuli from the environment and how we integrate them in our brain.
Okay, so it's about just receiving and integration with the brain.
Yes.
Okay, there's something we call earmuffs, right?
Yes.
Earmuffs are the ones that look like headphones for the sake of our viewers and to educate the parents who are out there. So when your child has the high sensitivity to sound, there's something called earmuffs that blocks out excessive sound, right?
Yes.
So that one is just to control the sound for the children, or does it have any other special way?
It's mainly to reduce, because it can be overwhelming. Because what happened, they don't know how to discriminate, what to listen to, and what to ignore.
Okay.
So you are there, you are in the classroom, there's a bird on the roof, there's someone walking along the corridor, the teacher is speaking, there's another child who is opening the book. So all that go to the brain. Because most of them, or some of them, they cannot be able to
Siphon. Okay.
Like for you, you can ignore the car along the road and you listen to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you see, there is difference between hearing and listening. We hear so many things, but we decide on what to listen to.
All right. Now that has been very well explained, because I was always wondering, like, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Like, I would be going mad. I can hear every pin drop. Okay, as I always say, that is a superpower. I'll stick to it's a superpower that they have, because I like looking at the positive. But that must be overwhelming. You can imagine hearing everything. Then it must be a whirlwind in your head.
And you have to focus on everything which you hear. It can be overwhelming.
So for what we're trying to do is to teach them to focus on what is present.
Is present. And this one thing whereby, especially some children in the spectrum, at their young age, you call them and they don't respond.
Oh yes, that's
because they are being overwhelmed. So, or you see that they are trying to ignore you sometimes. Sometimes they turn. So it's just because of being overwhelmed.
So they are overwhelmed with everything that is going on.
It's going on.
So you could be one of the many things that they're hearing at that moment.
Sure. Yes.
So it's not that they're ignoring you.
Yeah,
it's just that there is too much to handle to siphon. What exactly should I respond to?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, we also come now also to semantic. The very first thing when we start to train the child in language, especially the spoken language, we go to the semantic. Semantic means that they must attach words to their meaning.
Also meaningful word.
Meaningful. So if I say banana, you must know what that banana means. Yes. And the mistake which the teacher do, or even some people do, is that you force the child to say words, but they don't know what this word means.
What this word is all about.
Yes.
So that means everything has to be guided. A conversation, when you're teaching them, it has to be a guided conversation.
Yes.
So if I say I want to tell my son, give me a book, I must have introduced what a book is before before now I can start saying, go bring me a book,
Yes.
right? Because I think you touched on that is already a doing,
Yes.
then there is the book, which is the noun.
Yes.
So tentatively, how long does it take for a child to be able to grasp all this when they're having the challenges?
It depends on the severity and also the expertise and also the teamwork between the parent and the therapist and the teacher.
So, okay.
And also the environment. Yes.
Define environment.
Yeah. There is some environment which they don't stimulate the language. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
It's on you have one child, the only child, you are working. The house girl is not talkative, or the house help or the house manager is not talkative.
Okay.
So this child, he wakes up in the morning, after taking the breakfast, he's on the TV. Throughout the day, you come late, you are tired, the child is asleep. That's scenario A. Scenario B. A child with other siblings, they go out, they play outside. The house girl talk to the child. There are no much gadgets in the house. So we will acquire language before the other, if all other factors are consonant.
I think the one with the nanny.
Talkative nanny?
Talkative nanny in the house, yes.
Yeah, the one who goes to play with his peers.
No, you gave us two, right? The one who stays,
Yes.
the one who stays, talks with the nanny, the one who watches TV. Or was it?
Yes.
Because out of those two, I think the one with the nanny will talk
The
about.
nanny and the siblings.
And the siblings, yes, yeah. So it's about engaging them.
It's about engaging them. And as you engage them, because even before they talk, any child, before speaking, before acquiring what we call expressive language, and let me go back here. Language is divided into two.
Okay.
There's what we call receptive language. That's one is you are receiving. And expressive language.
Okay, that means when we are expressing ourselves now.
Yes. If someone's come here from Embu, Meru, Ukambani, they speak, I'll be able to understand what they are saying.
They speak in their mother tongue, or they just
Yes,
speak?
in their mother tongue. I'll be able to know what they are saying.
Why?
But because I have that receptive language, but I may not be able to speak.
Oh, okay, so, no, there is a difference. Wait. When you're saying, someone can come and start talking. If I don't understand Meru, it will just be blah, blah, blah.
Yes,
right?
for you.
Yeah.
Because you have no receptive language.
Yes, towards that dialect, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I can hear, but I just don't understand.
Yes.
All right.
But now, what I'm saying here is receptive language means that you understand. You're able to comprehend. So if I put a book, cup, and a spoon here, and a plate, and I ask the child, book, they go, they pick the book, and they cannot say that book, the word book. That means they have the receptive language.
Okay.
Now, expressive language is that I pick that book, and I show them and ask, all this, then they say book. That means that they have expressive language.
Okay.
But when we make them to repeat words, like a parrot, and they don't know the meaning of these words, it has just become some sound to them, which has no meaning.
Oh, so they're just saying, so the way we were saying the echolalic children repeat things because they had it somewhere, they just repeat and repeat. Yes. Okay, but I'm trying to just understand the way you're saying expressive. So expressive is when they respond to what it is that you say.
Yeah, exactly.
What about when you want them to express what they want? You see, now this was you telling them and then they're doing.
Yes.
What happens when I am the child and I want to say, I want to go to the ladies, the gents, I'm thirsty, or I want to change my clothes. So where does that fall?
Now, when you talk about the speech therapy, first you must know nouns, then you know the verbs. Let me give you an example. What this?
A pen.
What this?
A book.
What am I doing?
You're writing.
Book, pen.
Okay, that's how they take it in.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
because you say this is a book, this is what I'm doing, your book pen. Okay,
so now what am I
see.
doing? Book, pen. So now you have to show them that the action of doing this
is called writing.
Writing.
You have work. Okay. Okay.
This is a cup. Yes. The action of doing this is
drinking.
It's drinking.
So
now they can connect now and the verb.
Okay.
You see. So once now you move from the verb, you go now to other abstract nouns, like the prepositions, cup on chair, cup at a book. Then you go to the pronoun, which is a main issue.
The pronouns.
My, you are. They refer them to themselves.
Yes, I know. Actually, I was trying. I know I had posted something like that. I was trying to see if my children understand. Yeah, our viewers had already earlier said that I have 2 kids who are on the autistic spectrum. So I was trying to teach my children that I am mom, right?
Yes.
But then I have a name.
Yes.
You are Andrew. He is Bradley. So what I was trying to do, I know I had been warned about the preposition and stuff like that. So I was like, because I understand in their language it is what is your name, and this is, it's like a third party thing. It's never I am, you are. So I was like, this is, they were like mom. I'm like, mom is called mom. So I was like, mom is Sylvia, right? Then he's like, you are Bradley. This is mom. I'm like, no, this this is Sylvia. So until I said, how did I phrase it? I'm trying to remember, but it was, to me it felt very weird the way I had to put it. Like I had to turn it to his language for him to understand I am actually asking him what mom's name is. So so I said, mom is called, mom name is, so that the way of understanding is quite peculiar. So I asked him, show me your brother. He understands that. Like this is, he can say, this is Andrew, that is your brother. So I say, what is your brother's name?
Brother.
So so that connection of like the name and the fact that he's a brother, just intertwining, it's like it throws them, not that they don't know, it just throws them off balance totally. So I found that quite an interesting exercise. The
Pronouns.
time I did it.
Pronouns is, because you may even ask, which shoe is this? They won't say my shoe.
They'll say the name of the person.
Their name, Moggy's shoe.
Okay.
Yes. They say Moggy's shoe.
Okay. So you ask whose shoe this is?
Yeah. Then they refer themselves. They won't.
Oh, they won't say
I,
it's mine.
My.
Oh,
you
right.
Are.
They'll say
they know their own
my
name.
name.
Yes.
Okay. So now, should we adjust our language to align to the way they understand it, or should we just treat it the same way that they are handling it? Like, because they take it in that one-on-one, it is me, myself, and I, my name. So do we change our speech to our special children to align with that, or do we teach them the right way?
We have to teach them the right way, because outside there, people won't be able to understand them, and there's no word specifically for them.
Oh,
so we have to try our best for them to understand. And once we do it practically, they're able to understand. And another thing whereby they have deficit is the question words. The one like how, what, where, who, when. So I try to come from school and you ask the child, how was the day?
They don't? Yeah, I've done a whole term of that.
Yeah.
How was school?
So
it was
we
school.
must also train them on the meaning of those how, where, who, what. Yes.
Okay.
When?
But okay, for you, you're a teacher. I'm thinking the same scenario you said. I leave in the morning. I go to work. I carry all the stress that I get throughout the workplace. I come back in the evening. Then I have to embrace this different environment, right?
After the break, I'll show you a very good practical way of doing it.
Okay.
Using the toys.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, using toys.
Using toys.
You can use toys to actually do it.
It's a very simple. Thing.
Good. Okay. At least we'll have a practical lesson.
Yes, because we know that auditory, they are not good. So when you use auditory, learning part of it, we also make it more difficult.
Okay.
But if we bring things to them, toys, something they can be able to relate
with. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It makes the lesson enjoyable, and you're able to comprehend what you are saying.
Okay.
Yes.
So when we come back, now let's just take a short break, and then when you come back, then you can show us the different techniques, right, of how we can actually intervene in the challenges that our children go through when it comes to speech and language. At least we've been schooled on the difference of the two. We have learned how to try and have communication with us and our children. And the process, you start slowly, right?
Yes.
You start, and you have to show them. The things have to have meaning. So it's not an assumption that they will figure it out. So you have to really do it step by step for the parents at home. Thank you for joining us. Those who are joining us on Facebook Live, thank you. For those joining us at home, thank you. We'll go on a short break. Don't forget, our SMS number is 2058. I'll repeat again, 20508. You can send us any questions that you could be having, and anything that maybe you feel we did not satisfactorily dwell on, you can ask and we shall respond. You can also go to our social media pages. That is Andy Speaks 4 on Twitter, and on Instagram, Andy Speaks, or go to our Facebook page or my personal page, Sylvia Mochabo, and we shall be able to respond. Even if you go to the Science TV page, we will still get to your questions. We'll take a short break and we shall be right back as we continue with speech and language intervention. Thank you. All right. Welcome back to our 7th episode of NeuroDigest here on Science TV. I'm your host, Sylvia Mochabo, for those who are joining us. And my science interpreter is Maureen Maitha. And we still have our guest therapist for speech and language, Mr. Irungu Asa Mwangi. All right? And before we went on a break, he was trying to explain how to try and help our children gain speech and how to teach them how to communicate. We've learned what the difference is, speech and language. So we will dive right back in before we can go to the next question. So practically show us. We are very ready to understand how to teach our children some of these things.
Good. This is what I was saying. Like for the nouns, for this is a cup.
Yes.
For this,
that's a giraffe.
That's a giraffe. Now if I ask you, what's giraffe doing?
Drinking.
That's a verb.
Okay.
But you must acquire the noun before you go to the verb.
Okay. Yes.
So don't skip nouns and then you go to the verbs.
Okay.
Yes. So now I promise to show the viewers how we can train the question words.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Good. I can have a demonstration here. These are plates.
That's a plate. Plate, people.
Yes, and this is a spoon.
That's a spoon.
And this is a toy dog. It's a dog.
That's a dog. Okay.
So I can give a very short story to a child that dog is eating because it is hungry. Yes,
okay.
The dog is eating because it's
hungry.
Then I ask the child, who is eating?
Dog.
What's the dog doing?
Eating.
Why is the dog eating?
Because it's hungry?
Yes. And then now, that's the way you can teach a child on the question words.
Right.
Practically.
But how fast will they take to relate, especially the part of the dog is hungry?
Yes.
So how do they acquire that for, like, if I want them to tell me as a parent, like, Mommy, I'm hungry. Because you see, this we're discussing dog. That's it's a side thing.
Yes.
But when it is them,
yes,
how do they get to comprehend that when you're hungry is when you eat? How do you bridge that gap?
So now, from using the toy, you got the story. The real life stories. Mom went to the shop to buy milk. So who went to the shop?
Mom.
Where did mom go?
Buy milk.
To the shop. Where did mom go?
To the shop.
To the shop. Why did she go to the shop?
To buy milk.
So now you use now the real life
experiences. Okay.
So you still move closer for them to understand, and then now you can go to the say of expression.
All right.
But,
so
you, but you have to start from something concrete for them to understand. Then now you go to the verb only with no choice.
So like when I want to introduce that, then I'm like, okay, are you hungry? do I give you food? Like, that's the question. Are you hungry? Do I give you food? Or like, let's say, do I give you milk, or do I give you whatever it is that
Now,
they like?
when you ask a child, are you hungry?
Mm-hmm.
They have to respond yes or no.
Or no, yes.
And some of them have an issue of understanding yes or no.
Okay.
So you still have to train them the meaning of yes and no. And yes and no can be used in three. Your name, Sylvia.
Okay.
You respond, you say yes.
Yes.
Sylvia?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So that's one way of yes response.
Okay.
Responding to your name when you are called
All
by
right.
saying yes.
Oh, or being called, like,
Yes.
let's say Sylvia, then you're like,
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
Then another use of yes
Uh-huh.
is for the factual matters.
Mhm.
I ask you, is this a cup?
Yes.
Is this a plate?
No.
Good. I pinch you,
Mm-hmm.
you say no.
No.
I hug
Oh,
you.
you're asking me. You're
Yes.
asking me.
Because now
Oh,
here,
right.
yes and no can
Uh-huh.
be used for the factual matters
Mhm.
or for the feelings.
Okay.
So they must know how to. But now when you ask them, are you hungry? That's now for the feelings.
Mm.
So they must be able to know when to say yes and when to say no. But don't take it for granted. Some of them may not know when to say no,
And when
when
to
to
say
say
yes.
yes. So you must also train them.
So that is
on
also
those
another
concepts.
training. Okay.
Yes, of yes
Okay.
and no.
Wow. Okay. You had mentioned something like selective mutism last time.
Yes.
Just expound on that. Like now, okay, we've gotten the concept of like how we teach them the language and how receptive, and yeah, the full circle of how they acquire the language skill and the expressive skill. So what happens to the children who 1 minute they will listen, apart from the being overloaded? We have children who you will call and they'll be like 1 minute yes, the next minute they're like, I can't even hear you. Well, very well you can see they can actually hear you because there's nothing better they're doing. So how do you deal with selective mutism?
Yeah, selective mutism means that this is a child, and not only children in the spectrum who have the selective mutism. We have seen so many causes are various, but selective mutism is a child who select what we are called selective on who to talk to, where. So two things: who to talk to and when.
So depending.
And when.
Okay.
And when to speak or to talk.
Wow.
So you miss this child at home. He's okay. He's speaking. He's talking. In school, he's mute. Mute means there's no word which is coming out of that child. That's why we mean by the word mute. The way you put mute on the TV is just the same definition. Mutism. Selective. Yes.
So they choose when to talk,
when to talk,
who to talk to,
who to talk to,
and where they will talk. So I can go to school and I'm told this boy talks okay. When they come home, they choose they're not going to talk to anyone.
Or we have seen that this child only talk to this teacher.
That specific person.
Yes. And now here the school now say because he is not talking to other teachers, he is 10 years old. So let him go to the preschool. Yes.
Little life story. Okay, it's not selective mutism, but I have lived with that because also
which is wrong
when we look at the social skills. This is some of the challenges we go through as special needs parents, because this specific teacher is the only one who has a rapport and a relation with your child. You find when we're talking about integration, I know it's a topic of another day, but now since at least it came up, that are some of the challenges we go through, because a child is forced to stay in a specific place with a specific teacher for a while, because that's where they express themselves. That's where they're a different person who is actually very functional at that point. So that, which I concur with you, it is very wrong, because you're encouraging that behavior, right? You're feeding it like it's okay, you can just behave like this, it is fine. So I don't think that's something that should not be encouraged. Yeah. Then apart from selective mutism, there was a question that had come in just in your first moment. So there was we had talked about imitation skills, when we did it. So there is verbal and non-verbal. All right. Then we have children who just want to just read. Like they either read, or it's called what? Let me just quote. high affinity to written word. So like they just want, because this actually came into me through like a complaint. Like the parent was like, the child acquires a certain thing, then like it's comics, they read anything and everything. They decide we are going to be in the side of storybooks. The parent, like the house, apparently it's a wall, endless of books. So is that something one should be concerned about?
Yeah, it's called hyperlexia, and some of the children in the spectrum suffer from hyperlexia. Hyperlexia means that high affinity to the written words.
Okay.
So you compare the spoken words and the written words, and you see this child at 2, 3 years or 4 years, they have high affinity to the written words, but not the spoken words. But which language do we achieve first? Typically, we achieve the spoken language before we go to the written language. And these are the children who, when you go out with them, they'll Safaricom, Citizen, they'll come even draw that, Citizen, KTN, Science TV. Once they see it, yes, once they see it, they can get to read it.
Because they saw it, they read it.
They read it.
Okay.
And they flock the magazine. You see them with the magazines, comic books, trying to read. And you look at them by the year, because I know about 4 boys I'm working with. By the time they are 6 years old, they can read a big novel. But now, the problem is this one. Do they comprehend? No. They're able to read, fluent, but if you take that book away and then ask them, what did you read?
They can't.
And some prefer some books.
Like a specific
topic. Yes, about the robots. See, a child has a collection of books about the robots. Robots, yes. Some maybe animals, books of animals.
And science, a specific topic.
A specific topic.
You know why I'm actually just drawn back? I'm just analyzing my son. He's your student. I don't know what happens when he's in school. But the one thing I have noted that he knows all the television, as in you've just said exactly what he does. Because there is a day he was looking at the paper, it's upside down, I'm looking at it, what are you doing? And he was very serious, flipping the pages. But then the thing that, so long as he has seen, he will always, so when we are walking, when we're driving by, he will tell you, Safaricom, so and so. Remember, he only does 3 words, Has he improved? I don't know, I know. So I know we usually have one sentence, like he does one sentence. So by the time he spots it, by the time you figure out where he's, and he's very fast. He is very fast. He will tell you KTN, whatnot. As in Safaricom, he'll know that's a bank. So I'm like, so how are you taking in all these things? And when I try for us to like, how was your day? Blank. What did you do? Blank. So that correlation, I find it very complex.
Yeah, because here your son is a visual learner. A very strong visual learner. Okay. Not an auditory learner. So anything which he sees, it is stored in the visual memory. His visual memory is very strong than the auditory memory. Okay. And then now combined with hyperlexia, now you can see something written is visual.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. That's interesting. That's quite interesting. Wow.
But if you read for him a story and then you ask some few questions afterward, you'll see that there's some gaps. Okay. Because he's not good in the auditory learning.
Yes. Now, there is another one that I want us to touch on, just a tidbit, right? So this is the question. So how does language affect the social skill and the playing skills, like interaction with, how professionally, like how would we say, what percentage does it play in both interaction and learning and generally just mingling in society?
Good. And here we come here now. And another big elephant in children in the spectrum. Play skill.
Play skill.
Play skills is a big issue. And what they lack, play is, there are so many types of the play. There's what we call imaginative of the created play. There's the functional play. Okay. There's the social play. There's the constructive play. Okay. Constructive play is when they have blocks and they put them and they make.
So they construct.
They are so perfect. Functional play it's like the ball is to be kicked.
Oh,
So the function of the ball is to be kicked.
To be kicked.
So
Then they want to.
that's the functional play. Then now we come here, cooperative or the social play, whereby they have to play together with others. That's an issue.
Yeah.
Solo play, yeah, very good. In fact, we have the best swimmers in our school.
Oh, because it's their own
solo.
business, like
Yeah.
me and myself
You
and
see,
nothing else.
Soccer, playing soccer means you have to communicate non-verbal.
Oh yes, yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes.
You cannot give the ball to your opponent. And you have to be so quick to read the body language of the your
Everyone
team.
else, yeah.
Yes. But in the swimming, you have your own lane.
So you stick to it. Like
Yes.
it's one rule. Stay
Yes.
here, get there.
I know a boy who is very good in golf, because golf is a solo game. You win, solo.
Solo.
You lose.
So it's your own. It's a me, myself, and I
Yes,
kind of
yes.
a situation.
But when it comes to the social games, the cooperative games,
Mhm.
they have an issue. But now let's come to a child of 1, 2, 3 years.
Okay.
What should they have? They should have what we call imaginative play, pretend play. In the Kenya, we say chababa, chamama.
All right.
That's
like,
what they lack.
Oh, so they don't. What do you mean when you say they lack?
Yes, they have difficulty in imagination.
Okay.
Yes. Not all of them. There are some who are okay, but there are some, because we are saying it's a spectrum.
Yes. That's
So, like here, I'll pretend to be feeding the dog.
okay.
Yes.
The dog is drinking.
The dog
yeah?
is drinking. So I'll be pretending the dog is
The dog is
drinking.
drinking.
Then I take it to sleep. It's sleep. This now is imaginative.
Ah, okay. So you're being creative.
Yes,
yeah?
yes. But in Kenya we don't have the play therapist. But in another country we have the play therapist.
Oh, there's a therapist for play?
Yes.
What do you do?
They
Like
support.
playing is supposed to be automatic. Like
Yes, it's not automatic to a typical child, but to child in the spectrum. That's one area we assess. And you see now, you cannot separate the play skill and the social skills and the language skills.
they all come together.
They all come together.
So if you lack in one, of course you're disadvantaged,
You're
in that, like, in that space.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I'm still trying to think like there is actually a play therapist. I'm still taken aback. I'm still taken aback by that because I know I had a parent complain that I took my son to school and all they were doing is teaching how to play. And you see, to a parent that does not make sense. Especially, let's say if you have one neurotypical child and a neurodiverse child. Then if I take them to school, you're telling me they're playing the whole day? Like, excuse me, I'm paying you to just let them play.
Have you ever seen a child when they go for the free play during the break time? He's in one corner of the field, all
alone,
doing his own things, very comfortable.
Very, very comfortable.
Yes.
I have tried that. I've tried actually putting like it's football, you know, like
Football,
and to kick the ball there.
Yes.
He looks at him, like picks the ball and walk away. So every other child is looking at me like, dude, we're supposed to be playing. But to him, you see, he's done it right. He does not get that concept of, oh, I put it down, I kick it to you. For him, it is a ball, and he gets, that attachment that they have. So he picks the ball up and he goes with it. Then he decides who I'm going to give. So you see, for him, that is playing in its own way. But everyone else is so frustrated, like, oh my God, put it down. We're supposed to be kicking it.
Supposed to be kicking the ball.
So when you're talking about play, that communication of body language, this is what is supposed to be done. This is how you're supposed to do it. Like, put it down and let's kick it.
Let's kick it.
So how hard should you push a child to get that skill?
Yeah. What we do in a school scenario, because it's a two-way traffic, you talk to the typical child on how to help this child in the spectrum.
Okay.
Because the child in the spectrum may not go to them. But this one, the typical child, once they understand, they may go now to this child. It's easier for this one who is able to understand to go to the
neurodiverse person.
Yes. Than this one to go to
a neurotypical person.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to that, so that our viewers just basically means we need to teach our children to learn to embrace the different children that we have, because through embracing is the only way we will be able to assist them, right?
Sure.
It is the only way we'll be able to assist. So when you're seeing a child just being solo, it's not that they're being weird, it's not that they're being antisocial. They could just be on the spectrum and they need that extra push. They need that welcoming ambience and that welcoming person who will be able to tell them, yeah, it's okay, come and join us. All right. Now, just one more question on the modalities of learning. All right. There is different ways of how you've shown us the visual.
Yeah, the visual.
Then you said us repeating is auditory.
Yeah, it's auditory.
Now, what happens to this? You had just touched on this. There's persons who want to touch everything, put in their mouth. Because I know I was very concerned, like at a point in time where my son was putting everything in the mouth, and I'm like, that's not like, even when it's a slipper, he put in the mouth, and I'm like, that's dirty. And you feel so scared as a parent, but that by the end you're finished with this, we'll be talking something different,
That's the way they explore their world.
Okay.
They are tactile. In fact, I do remember a boy who was a family friend in the spectrum. So I used to go out with him to the supermarket, and he could touch everything in the supermarket.
Okay.
Everything, from the shelf to the last.
So touching everything. Okay.
Because that's the way he learned or he understood these things. He used the tactile to explore his world. For you and me, you look at something, you know whether it's smooth or rough, is it?
Yeah.
But for someone, they must touch.
So that's their own way of learning.
Yes.
And that's their own way of getting to acquire the communication and the identification.
And these are the children who are very manipulative.
Manipulative.
Yeah. They will take something, they try to manipulate it. So we also call them, there are some children, we call them kinesthetic learners. They like to manipulate things. They like to explore the world by doing.
Okay.
Yes. But a very good teacher should use what we call multisensory approach. Whereby when we say the multisensory approach, you use all the sensory.
So visual, tactile,
auditory.
Okay.
So you don't pick one.
Right.
But in our school, mostly the teachers, especially in the middle level, they use the auditory. That the child go to the class, sit down and listen. That's auditory. So if a child is not auditory learner, what will happen?
They will be left behind. Yeah.
So then the child need to balance. If this child is a visual learner, there's some gadgets now. There's some YouTube for kids. If you are maybe teaching parts of a flower, why don't you bring something on the screen
and then they see?
Yes. Okay. If it's someone who is manipulative, it won't cost you a thing to go and bring a flower
from outside.
Yes, and then you bring it to the child, and then this a petal, this filament, this under. And when they do that and they touch it and they smell, they will never forget.
Wow.
Yes.
We have been schooled once again. So at least one greatest takeaway from today is we better learn to embrace. We better learn to teach the way our special needs children understand. So you have to understand what is your child's style of learning when it comes to communication in terms of language and speech, and then we just let them be and we encourage them and we put in the time and the effort, right?
Yes.
And also the environment. Let's make the environment conducive. Let's have that conversation. And remember, we were taught, start with the nouns, it has to make sense to them, then go to the verbs, then go to the pronouns, then now you go prepositions. Step by step.
Then from there now you can go to what we call question words.
Or the question words.
Question word. Now from there you go to other abstract yes, no.
Yes, no question.
Before you go now to the spontaneous social conversation.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. That's now the way now we are conversing.
We're conversing more one.
And we also must know that not all these children will get to that level.
Oh yes. Yes. Not all of them.
Not all of them. So we must be honest, very honest. No, not all of them we may get to that level. But if they don't get to that level, what do we do? And that's why we said last time we can use alternative way of communication. Yes.
Oh, that was what we were talking about.
We can still use that
sign language,
which we call the Magaton
sign language.
We can use PECs.
The PECs, which is the use of photos to express communication.
Yes. Now there are some gadgets
that actually teach.
Yeah. A child can just use a tablet to communicate. Yeah. If you want to go for short call, you just
go and show you what it is.
Yes, what it is.
So these are apps on the phones and the gadgets.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so at least assistive technology is helping us as parents. So you can drop us a message. We'll try and have our therapist contacts just in case you'd like to proceed with these questions, ask questions further. And remember also our SMS numbers will still be open. And next week we shall be still on autism. Remember, we say we are going to break it down until we all get to understand it. So we've done early intervention, we've done speech, and we shall be moving to occupational therapy, both at home and what is actually done when they go for a therapy session, so that it is actually a bit inclusive. You heard some of the speech actually requires the OT or our occupational therapist to help our children. So for those who've been with us throughout the entire episode, we want to say thank you, and we hope you'll join us next week, same place, same time here on Science TV, with me, your host, Sylvia Mochabo, and our interpreter, Maureen, who's done awesome. Thank you. And thank you to Daktari, because he has schooled us. Okay, he said therapist. So our beloved therapist want to say thank you. And at least now I understand my child better. And I hope you back at home, you also have. So don't forget, you can drop us your messages on our social media pages also. So until next time, it's good night and goodbye from here.